So what do you think about Astral Weeks, Austin? Yeah.
It's all right. So my history with this album goes back like I want to say it was like February last year, so nearly like a whole year ago. And I was downstairs feeling kind of sad, and I got out of school that day, and I was just at a low point, and it was like 6 o'clock or 8, I don't know. But I go down there, I'm in my bathrobe, and I just lay on the couch with my dogs. And I turn on like a 60s radio station on the TV, and it goes through all this stuff. And I'm laying here for about an hour, and then I finally decide to go to bed. And right when I go upstairs, my dad comes down to get something, and I'm about to turn off the TV. But I hear the song come on, and I look at it, and it's by Van Morrison. And I catch the word astral in it. And I was like, huh, I never really heard anything else by him besides like Brown Eyed Girl and Wild Night and some random stuff my mom would play on the guitar. And, I like those songs, but I never really thought much of the guy.
And for good reason.
What? Shut up, whore. And later that night, I decided that I would download the song. I just looked up Astral Van Morrison and I came across it. It's 7 minutes long, the song. And I loved it. I played it on repeat for like a solid 2 weeks at least. And it got me through school and everything. And then I decided to download the rest of the album because I did research on it and it's considered like one of the greatest albums ever. And I downloaded the rest of it, and it didn't really phase me at first, because I was just still hooked on that one song. It's like you know how you listen to Blonde on Blonde, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're stuck on Rainy Day Women, but you never really feel like going through the rest of it.
I like it now. It was just like,
well, yeah,
like I
at
said, the first time I listened to it, I was fresh off the back of Desolation Row on Highway 61.
Exactly.
And then it's like, well, is that you?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
accurate. But it's like, you didn't like Rainy Day Women, but it didn't really give you the motivation to go through the rest of the album at first.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the opposite.
But yeah, it's like the opposite, but the same at the same time. It's weird. But you're hooked on this one song that you don't feel like listening to the rest of it because you just want to stay on that one song. Well, I listened to it, a couple nights, and then I tried to listen to it like in Spanish class. And Cypress Avenue kind of stuck out at first. And I was like, oh, that sounds kind of nice. And then Sweet Thing really stuck out. That was like the first major song besides Astral Weeks that I ended up liking and was able to listen to like by itself. And Beside You, I think was the sole reason that I couldn't really get into the rest of the album because I had to get past that. And it's not a bad song, but it's not as good as it's not like it's the Rainy Day Women. There you go. It's not as good as the rest of the album. Well, I finally decided to get past that, and I paid attention to everything else. And the next major song that I got into was Cypress Avenue. And I listened to this more and more, and it was beautiful. I mean, you like it. You got the harpsichord in there. Like, the whole album is just like that, except for the only song that doesn't really go well with the other songs, but it's still good, is probably The Way Young Lovers Do.
I think it's necessary, though. I think that's like the Sloop John B of Astral Weeks,
Yeah, I get what you mean. But there's a lot of brass.
Retrospective.
What?
The Pet Sounds episode is just going to be all Sloop John B. The rest of the album's kind of shit.
This is all we're going to talk about is just Sloop John B.
The
history of the tradition of it. Yeah, Cypress Avenue, it stuck out, and it's about Van Morrison just like sitting in a car, and he's like in middle school or freshman high school, it don't matter, but he's young and he's like 13 to 15, whatever. He's an adolescent, and Cypress Avenue, according to him, is like this residential street on where he grew up in Belfast, and it was for like a lot of high end people. And he would imagine that he'd just be sitting here in this car, looking at this girl and imagining her like coming like a princess coming home from some sort of fair in like a carriage, and like it says that exactly, and like not the princess part, but you get the gist.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about rainbow ribbons and everything, and it doesn't really have like it's not catchy, and there's no chorus. It's just him speaking, and he repeats himself sometimes, and he talks about him getting like nervous and everything, and that song really like resonated with me because I could relate to that awkward feeling, and then you like say you like someone but you don't know what to do, and that's exactly what the whole premise of it is. But not just that, it's also reminiscing on just childhood, and that's really what the whole album is. It's just talking about childhood and childhood innocence, which goes into Madame George, and Madame George is like 10 minutes long, and it's about a transvestite. But he says it's not about a transvestite, but it obviously is a transvestite.
I thought George was the last name.
Nah, it's the
George.
line playing dominoes and drag.
Well, yeah, but like I don't know. I thought
I'm pretty sure it's about a transvestite that's like never really was able to fit in with everybody or something, kind of like that. And immediately starts off. It's like down on Cypress Avenue, so it references Cypress Avenue, which I thought was
concept
cool.
album.
Yeah, bro, it's freaking epic, and it essentially is a concept album, but it's probably wasn't really marketed as one. It wasn't really marketed at all because the label didn't promote it.
Like the year it came out, like concept albums, they were a bit more vacuous. It wasn't like the
broad and abstract.
Yeah, like Pink Floyd concept albums, they'll always have like recurring musical motifs.
Yeah,
and stuff. That wasn't really a thing back then, I don't think.
Yeah, like it wasn't until. Yeah, you're right. Well, Days of Future Past was definitely a concept album, like just right off the bat. And then you have Tommy, which came out in '69, which was just a rock opera. And but yeah, the concept album thing, I don't think ever really got mainstream until the '70s.
I mean, it's kind of just a weird like term anyway, because like
you can just like
it's a concept album, but it's not exactly
I was talking to Dustin about it, and he said, yeah, well, anything could be considered a concept album. I said, what about Led Zeppelin 2? And he said, well, yeah, it could be a concept album. He said, name me one of their songs that said A Whole Lot of Love. And he just said, all right, doesn't he talk about love throughout the whole thing?
The entire Led Zeppelin discography is a concept album about loving a woman, but then there's citrus fruits and Vikings and stuff.
Yes, squeezing the fruit.
Squeeze the tangerine.
It's a Led Zeppelin crossover album.
I saw a post one time. It was talking about like me putting every single Bob Dylan song together and making the ultimate concept album. They all fit together, guys.
Dear Lord, that would sound terrible.
Just overlay them all over top of each other, and you just like
it'd be
imagine
funny.
you did that, and it's just like Morse code with harmonica. It's like
it'd be funny though. If the only thing you could really make out was Rainy Day Women. it just sounds the same.
I mean, no matter what.
It's just a bunch of dudes fooling around.
I'm just imagining you put like all of his songs after like 1970 and up over. It's Morse code and harmonica spelling out like I'm trapped in Area 51. They've replaced me with an imposter.
Yeah, the motorcycle accident, the folk hero.
Other folk heroes include Van Morrison.
Yes. Okay. Well,
I'm sorry.
He's R&B. He's more R&B, but
when it I think it's a little interesting. And this is a very temporary diversion, but I find it interesting how like R&B has very much changed what kind of genre it is. Like if you make like a rock playlist from like all over the place, right? Like every era, there'd be a lot of similarities. But if you made an R&B playlist going back a long time, there'd be a pronounced shift in what is considered R&B.
because for me originally, it was hard to generalize what Van Morrison was. Like I thought it was just like jazz. But then, and a lot of parts of it is,
Yeah.
uh, like, well, I mean, just anything. And whenever he involves like a saxophone, like a alto saxophone, it is very jazzy. And
Well, that's just what saxophone does.
well, yeah, I mean, if you "Shine on You, Crazy Diamond" is my favorite jazz number.
No, yeah.
But yeah, Madame George, that's what I was talking about. Madame George. So it's like this transvestite, and at the end, this transvestite goes away, and everybody's saying goodbye to Madame George. So it's like it's kind of depressing, but it's also really like bittersweet because there's like a whole like orchestra. Well, not really a whole it's just violin, like a whole string section going on, and it's beautiful. Like that's how the whole album is, just a string section, and it's just amazing. It's like you imagine like you're at your 18th century England, and you're an aristocrat
Well,
and
that is
everything.
something that, like, when I first heard the album, the thing that stuck out to me, and I'm gonna make this comparison maybe a few times because the albums do remind me of each other, right?
Yeah,
Uh, I feel like the instrumentation, it really does remind me of Pet Sounds a bit. The way that there's it's
I
very
do kind of get
orchestral.
like I understand that because when I was listening to Pet Sounds, I could be like, this does kind of loosely remind me of it, but I haven't listened enough to Pet Sounds to pick out any stronger similarity.
I wouldn't say that they're extremely similar because like
Yeah,
Pet Sounds is like incredibly orchestrated. I don't mean like I'm not implying that Astral Weeks is poorly orchestrated, but more just the
y-
fact that like the volume.
yeah,
Whereas Astral Weeks, it's kind of like if there's orchestration,
barely
but it never
ambient
feels
in a
like
way.
yeah, it feels like these people are in like a house playing their instruments where like
Yeah, and it's like
it
during
sounds like
some
they're
sort
at a
of
concert.
ball or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they're just like,
it's
yeah,
like
I get what you mean.
it's a lo-fi orchestration,
Yeah,
which
it's
doesn't make any
lo-fi.
sense,
There we
but
go. Van Morrison's lo-fi. There we go.
yeah,
And lo-fi, lo-fi hip hop.
the lo-fi orchestra.
Yeah, and but the thing about that is like there were no more than 10 studio musicians for that,
Yeah,
and I thought originally there was like a bunch of guys, but it was just like it was like 8, and I was like, wow, this is his second album, and it came out in '68, and no, it's like nobody ever knew about it. My dad and my mom, they say they love Van Morrison, but they never found out about this album until Dustin and I introduced it to them, and it was really crazy just to like discover this. So it's just like, wow, this exists, and I've
yeah.
never heard anything else like it. It's just the only other place you could like find this would be in some sort of like soundtrack for a movie that takes place in like the 18th century. But
The 13th century.
the it was it was in like a legitimate freaking experience because the first song talks about going and like a major theme of it is just transcending into like this kind of heavenly place atmosphere with somebody you love, and it goes back and forth between saying it's in another time, in another place, and that's what
In another
sets
world.
the tone for the rest of the album because that's where it takes you.
Mhm.
And immediately right off the bat, you're faced with Beside You, which is like, okay, now when I first heard that song, I imagined myself like immediately after like hearing the first few parts of it, I was like sitting on like a stone bench in a garden with a fountain, kind of. And that's like what the whole album gives me. Like, I'm in a garden, like a botanical garden, and
A
it's just
moth
like there's
garden.
yeah, yeah, there you go. And
Uh-huh.
I loved it. And I mean, beside you, I didn't love at first. Now I do, now I like it. But you go into Sweet Thing, which is after that one.
Well, my thing with Beside You, right, real quick, is that the first time I listened to the album, I didn't mind it,
Yeah.
but the second time I listened to the album, I'm like, "You're seriously gonna put this between Astral Weeks and Sweet Thing?" It sounds like they go so perfectly together, and, like, Sweet Thing is, like, probably my favorite song on the album overall.
Yeah.
So just sort of like, it's like I liked it and then I didn't like it and I sort of like it a little bit again. It's okay.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to like rework it because there are parts where it would flow better,
Yeah.
and like an entire side of it, like side two, can just be comprised of Cypress Avenue, Ballerina, and Madame George in that order, and I think that would be the best way to do it.
I think that the album should just be Madame George 5 times.
I think they should just make it 45 minutes long
Yeah. Astral
instead.
Weeks double album.
Like I wouldn't mind that at all.
What if it's 45 minutes, what were you cutting out Slim Slow Slider or something?
What do you mean? What? No, I said make Madame George 45 minutes long.
Oh.
What?
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I
What?
misunderstood. Anyway, Sweet Thing, best song on the album.
Uh-huh. All
What do you
right.
think about
Well, I love that song.
it?
I
Mm-hmm.
think it's great. I think it's just it's a feel good song. It's
Oh yeah.
nice and very comforting. I don't think it's the best, as you know, but
You all are wrong. So
we're gonna fight now.
I mean, you almost fought me when I put it at number 7. So
But
right.
yeah, Sweet Thing, great song, love that one. And then after that, you got Cypress Avenue, and then after that, it's side two, The Way Young Lovers Do. And The Way Young Lovers Do is like fast paced, like swing.
I think that's the
And
jazziest song.
what?
I feel like that's the jazziest song on the album.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah.
It's a nice song, and
I
I
like it.
guess you're right that it does kind of need to be in there, but it's kind of hard to like fit in a way.
I don't feel like it is, because I feel like a good album has to like, sort of swap between having slower and faster songs. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I look at the track list right now. If you took that out, right, theoretically,
Yeah.
you made Madame George 3 minutes long or whatever, or make Slim Slow Slider 6 minutes. It's like you go from Cypress Avenue into Madame George, which is fine, but then the
Mm-hmm.
album, I feel like it just like, it's like getting to the bottom of a hill on a roller coaster, and then there's nothing to take you back up again before another hill. You know, you're just sort of sitting.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good way to put it, but it just like it sticks out to me in that way because of the brass. And it's like I don't mind it. I like it. I like the sound of it. It's just like you listen to everything else, and it's like, okay, this stands out, but it's not bad.
I just remember like I remember walking around college campus in the rain, and that song was playing in my earbuds, and it was pretty awesome, and I enjoyed
Yeah,
it.
like that's how I was feeling when I was listening to "Time Has Come Today." I was walking out of high
Yeah.
school. We're at 11 straight minutes of just PogChamp. But but yeah, after The Way Young Lovers Do, you got Madame George, which is nearly 10 minutes long. Beautiful masterpiece, and it's only like 3 chord transition. Um, and which shows like the whole thing is just like a stream of consciousness, and that's the beauty of that album to me, because it takes you into his mind, like exactly, and it's vivid to me, and it gives you a vivid sense of imagery, and you're like, wow, I didn't know this was possible. I've never been taken to this sort of like level of enjoying music before. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
almost like I wasn't enjoying it, I was just living it. And then after Madame George, it's Ballerina, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ballerina. And Ballerina, I didn't think much of at first. It was just kind of there. Then I listened to it again, and I actually paid attention to the lyrics, and I was like, man, that's just as awesome as like Cypress Avenue and everything else on here.
What's it about?
And bro,
What?
what I mean, Dustin told I don't know what it's about. I think I remember.
Well, I wasn't trying to call
Oh,
you
no, no,
out or
no.
anything. I was
No, no,
just
no.
curious.
I remember it. I was actually reading up on it the other day, and he said he got the idea for the song after getting a quick glimpse of a ballerina at like a auditorium or something,
Uh huh.
and that was it. and he just decided to write a song, and it's just him about basically just like consoling a girl, saying like if you ever feel down, just come to me because he's like give me a chance, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great song to listen to. It's not sad. It's not depressing. It's just happy. It's relatively happy.
Yeah.
And then you go into Slim So Slider, which is the end of the song or the album, and that's what like 3 minutes, right? It's not that long.
It's the shortest. It's by far the shortest song on the album. It's only
Yeah,
3 minutes.
and
Actually, no, it's actually the same length as The Way Young Lovers Do exactly, which is weird.
well, that one is very nice one. I think there's like a saxophone playing in that, in like the background, I think it's a sax. I don't remember, but it was basically him almost lamenting himself, and it's almost kind of like this melancholic departure from the innocence that he lived in, almost like Madame George in a sense. But Madame George had more of like a fictitious way about it, but as opposed to Slim So Slider, which is a lot more close to home and like a little bit more in your face.
Madame George is a bit more fantastical and like
Yeah,
whimsical.
that was the word I was gonna say, but I just stuck with fictitious.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Slim So Slider is like he's lamenting this girl that I think he liked or used to be with or whatever, and I was looking up the song and it said that he said that it was like apparently it's like some guy just wandering through a town that's like snowy and it's cold and he's probably like on something and like
Like skateboard.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like lost with himself and he's like sad. He's just trying to make sense of everything and it's the perspective of this guy saying like, "Oh, yeah." The lyrics are like, "I saw you early this morning with your brand new boy in a Cadillac and all that." And it's sad and it's slow, but it's very nice and just great to listen to. And the whole album comes up to just that pinnacle of that send off.
It's the denouement.
Yes, the denouement. And it was like, here you go. This was Astral Weeks. And it was like, wow, that was amazing. And then I found out like months later after like getting really into this album, I considered getting it on vinyl,
Mm-hmm.
and I was actually about to get it, but then I wanted to wait a few days. But then I go downstairs, I see a package, I open it up, it's Astral Weeks, and I'm just looking at Dustin. I said, "Did you get this for me or something?" He said, "Nah, I got it for me." I said, "Oh, you like this album too?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "How long have you known about it?" He said, "Like 5 months." I was like, "What?" And I asked him about it. I asked him like what his favorite song was. He said he liked Ballerina, and I said I like Madame George. He's like, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." I mean,
I hate that song.
but that was really cool because then I was like, "Wow, okay, I'm not the only guy." And so I bring it up to my dad, and I asked him if he's ever heard about it. He says no. And then I play it for my mom in the car one day. I asked her to just experience it with me. And I'm driving around York County with this song playing, or the album, my bad.
Mm-hmm.
And she said she enjoyed it. And she ended up wanting us to download it for her on her phone. And she really liked the first song. And then she started singing Madame George like out of nowhere one day. And I was like, "Wow, you like that?" She's like, "Yeah." And I'm surprised because it's like 10 minutes long. She's not into those like songs that are more than like 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
And she says like, "How could somebody come up with something like Madame George?" And it's like, "I don't know, but I like it." And she's like, "I do too." And that was great because it was a bonding moment with my mom. And then we get our dad to listen to it, and it was like the next day he said, I listened to Astral Weeks all last night, and it was beautiful. And he said, and I said, it touches your soul, doesn't it? He said, yeah. And he was like, that was amazing. It was great. And
It's
that
not the reaction my dad had.
your dad doesn't like Van Morrison, right?
He didn't like Van Morrison though, so he was just sort of. I got my record player for Christmas, and we played like I got like Rubber Soul, Revolver,
Yeah.
Sgt. Pepper. I got all those albums that he like at least somewhat likes.
Uh
And
huh.
we get to Astral Weeks. It's like the one I'd save for last because I'm like I knew he wasn't gonna like it, so I wasn't gonna play it.
Yeah.
And my mom really wanted to listen to it because she likes it. Because
Yeah.
it's like I guess like when I first heard it, right?
Hmm.
Uh, it was
Utah.
because yeah, I just
And
randomly found it. Austin actually never told me about it. I couldn't believe it.
yeah,
And there,
man.
yeah,
Is it just all the months bugging you?
yeah. And I was like, listen, listen. As I sat there and listened to, I don't know, probably Revolver at the time. That's the album I was into. I'm like, I'll listen to it. I'm going out to Utah. So I was at Bryce Canyon. I was at the very top, and it was at sunset. We were driving back down, and I put it on. And I was like, yeah. I told Austin I listened to this album, Mom. So if it's bad or weird, you gotta understand. And
You gotta understand that Austin's just a weirdo.
well, see, I hadn't listened to it yet, and I wasn't sure if it was gonna like. I didn't know if it was gonna be something I would like and she wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I
you better
got you.
put on
I've
some
been
like
there
Dark
before.
Side of the Moon stuff, and I'm like, hell yeah, my mom's just, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But yeah, she probably likes it more than I do, and I like it. She bought Van Morrison Essential CD for Christmas.
Really, that's great.
Yeah, and that one I think it just has like Sweet Thing and the way Young Lovers do on it. Off of
Yeah,
Astral Weeks, yeah.
and then
But no, go on.
well, it introduced me to the rest of Van Morrison, and after that, I got into Moondance, which was like his next biggest album. After that, and speaking of Moondance, it was like really commercially successful, but
Hmm.
Astral Weeks wasn't at all. Like, I
Hmm.
don't think it sold more than like
At least two.
yeah, there you go, sure. And the label didn't even like market it or anything. It wasn't on shelves very often, and the uh, the record company he was with before he recorded it, their contract was about to go up, but the guy died, and so Van Morrison thought he could get away from it. But then his wife was like, "Nah, you still got to fulfill your oath." And he created a bunch of nonsense songs. And Beside You and rough cuts of Beside You and Madame George were in there.
Huh.
And then he just put it with this like band, and then there you have the rest of the album. And because the original versions of Madame George and Beside You are a lot more like uh garage rockish in a
Yeah.
way, and which I kind of dug it, but at the same
Mhm.
time, I prefer the you know
Good version.
yeah, the good version. I wasn't gonna say original version, but like the desirable version.
No, yeah.
And yeah, that got me into Moondance, which I also really liked, and I think that's a great album. Not as good as Astral Weeks, um,
Wasn't
but
Moonface his third album or his
Moondance,
is
I
there a gap?
believe, is his third album. I
Okay.
think, and that went into like the first side of Moondance, flawless, 10 out of 10. Second side is like 8 out of 10. Um, it's not as good as the first side.
Yeah.
Is the first side has like banger after banger. It has Into the Mystic on it, which is easily one of my favorites. And that's such a great one. And I got into him more and more, and I started listening to his later stuff, and I noticed how consistent he was with his stuff. Like it was all like good, like what I heard. Like you know, it wasn't as good as some other stuff, but it was like wow, I can easily be comfortable listening to this anytime. And and then I would listen to later stuff. Like in 1986, he released an album, No Guru, No Method, No Teacher. I think that's what it was called. And
Mm-hmm.
there was a song called In the Garden. And it makes these references to parts of Astral Weeks, I think. And he's talking about how the fields are wet with rain. And that was
Miss
mentioned
you.
in The Way Young Lovers Do. And that was awesome because he was talking about how he's in the garden, and that's the vibe I got from Astral Weeks, and so it
Mm-hmm.
was like his homage to his own creation that he originally dismissed because he was like really humble about Astral Weeks in retrospective reviews of it because he was saying like, wow, this is like one people were saying like this is one of the greatest albums of all time. He's like, nah,
You're
but
wrong.
then I think it was 40 years later he performs the whole thing at the Hollywood Bowl in California, and that was awesome.
Oh yeah.
He rearranged the order of some of the songs to like make it flow better almost, and I was like, yeah, that's how I imagined it, and
Hey,
which was really cool, and the live version's really good. But, yeah,
that's some
just
albums
great.
just like they need to be rearranged a bit, I feel.
Yeah,
Just to get the flow, you know?
yeah, because I feel like when people make an album, they're just kind of like just put it there, you know, and be like, all right, here you go, and
It's
they
just
just
a
they just
collection
they
of
need something
songs.
out there.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I'm not saying that doesn't make them any like lack effort. Like Led Zeppelin, for example. I'm sure there's songs that could flow better on some parts. Like on Physical Graffiti, I'm sure I would like to rearrange some stuff on there. But Physical Graffiti, there's no common theme throughout the album or anything. So it's just like, all right, who cares? Just put them on. Like side two is just all their hits on that album. It's Trampled Underfoot, Houses of the Holy, and shoot, what was the other one? Kashmir. Yeah, Kashmir. And they put all that on like side two. And that was just it.
In the Light, don't forget about In the Light.
And the
And that
like
was good too.
but yeah, it's like some artists just do that and they just put it there. But you gotta ask for weeks. And I'm not saying it's like the same principle, but it's kind of similar in the fact that there could be stuff that would flow better. But I think at first he wasn't really pleased with it. Pretty sure that's what I read. And I think that has to do with because if you listen to that and you listen to most of his other mainstream stuff, it sounds like completely different.
Yeah.
And you listen to stuff like there's a live album he did, and at the end of every show he would do this like swing version of Cypress Avenue,
Hmm.
and it was good. Like 8 minutes long at least, and it was a nice listen. It was fun, and it still gave you like a great vibe. But it was a different kind of experience as opposed to the one you'd hear on Astral Weeks because he's more of like this soul R&B guy. But if you listen to Astral Weeks, it's like this isn't really R&B, and it's not rock. It's just its own genre. And I still don't know how to describe it other than just great and a masterpiece. I love that album, my favorite album ever, and I mean that's all I can.
I mean, I think it's a pretty great album. It was like number 4 or 5 on my rankings for a long while.
Yeah,
It did drop a bit just because I think I re-listened to Physical Graffiti and Thick as a Brick. I like
yeah,
those albums more.
yeah.
But
I got you.
yeah, honestly, I do think it's a good album. My only issue with the album is well, I'll ask you this: do you like side one or side two better overall? Like not. I know you like
Overall,
your favorite song, but yeah.
overall, I would say that is actually really freaking tough
Hmm.
because side one has Astral Weeks and Cypress Avenue, but side two has Madam George and Slim So Slider and Ballerina.
Yeah. See, I say side one every time. just because like I feel
That
like
is
it.
way too tough for me to answer. Like I legitimately cannot answer that one because it's so balanced for me.
You can only listen to one side for the rest of your life. You got to pick now, or you can't listen to
I'm
the entire
shooting
thing at all.
myself. There you go. That's the solution to that, man. If I if
Oh,
I
man.
if I cannot experience the whole thing, if I only get half-ass version of Astral Weeks, bro, no. Mm.
Astral Weeks, but the side two is just the entire thing.
Astral Weeks, but it's just Astral.
It's just Weeks. Do you like
Weeks.
Astral or Weeks better?
Uh, uh, yeah. I mean, it was. Yeah, and you're not really like a Van Morrison fan either,
Uh, I
right?
like Van Halen and Jim Morrison better than Van Morrison.
But yeah, it's like me on the other hand, Van Morrison's like number two on my favorite artists
No,
because
yeah,
of this stuff like I've heard the other stuff and what he's all about. It's just all really soul in his voice. I love his voice. I know you don't really dig it.
I see. Here's my thing. I feel like you may have misinterpreted what I meant when I said I didn't like
What
his voice.
like vocal performance and ability?
Like in terms of who are like the greatest singers of all time, in terms of like technical ability, I don't think Van Morrison is up there. But in
I
terms of like singers whose voice you like I like Bob
I
Dylan's
thought we were
voice.
just talking
I
about
wouldn't
favorite
say.
singers because you didn't even put Aretha Franklin on there.
Well, I mean, I don't
Aretha
really
Franklin's
listen to
got
him
to be
stuff.
one of the best singers ever, dude.
Well, I know, but I was thinking about people that I listen to often, like which of those I would say are like the best technical singers. You know,
All right, so yeah, Freddie Mercury we agreed was number one.
I didn't agree he was number one.
What? What?
I said he was in the top five.
Oh,
I
I
had
mean,
no in
I
no
say he's
particular
number one.
order.
I mean, Queen's not my favorite band. They're one of my favorite bands, but
See,
he would
that's
definitely
that's
be.
like the
number-
biggest musical difference I think we have is that I think Queen's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I freshman year, I was all about Queen. Like, I would only listen to Queen and Rush,
Oh yeah,
and I fell in love with Queen, and I thought they were great. That's when I was like a full on nerd. I still am a nerd, but I'm a bit more closeted about it now.
it's just
But
an office in the closet.
also yeah, and
Yeah.
then yeah, like you on the other hand, you just think they're all right, which isn't that's fine.
Oh yeah. My thing with music is that up until like crap was that what year do we have the free period together?
It was last year, first semester,
Oh, so I
first
guess
period.
yeah, I didn't get super into music till like senior year, man.
Yeah,
For that,
because we had that
looked up
YouTube
on camp.
Beatles exchange,
Yeah, I started
and
listening to the Beatles, and then I listened to the Beach Boys, and then that's where it sort of went from.
yeah, because I was always into like classic rock and stuff at that
Yeah,
point for years, but I never really like got into it, like wanted to get into it until
but
Astral Weeks, and that like
yeah, mine was
listening
sounds. So yeah,
stuff like yeah, and then alas, here we are talking about it.
hmm
So, and it's just it's nice that you find that niche
yeah,
and
I
you just
think
kind
so.
of stick with it, and it's something that you can be consistent with and always go to and like.
hmm
So that's the
Yeah,
beauty
that's
of music.
like, do you think you could just listen to Astro Weeks like every day and it won't get old? Because like this summer, or this past summer, I straight up listened to like Pet Sounds almost every day for almost the entire summer. Never really got old.
Yeah, that's how like at first I feel that way because all right, you know that Astral Years, right? The playlist.
hmm
Um, yes, I have a playlist called Astral Years, and it's based off of Astral Weeks. But it's just like every song I like in the entire world. So the first song on it is Astral Weeks, and every time I put it on Spotify, that song has to come first. It has to start playing in order for me to queue something up
I
because
do the
that's
same
how
thing.
PlayStation Spotify works.
Yeah.
And I I always hear that, and that makes me think I'll get tired of it. But there will be times where I just decide to listen to that whole album again, and I realize that, yeah, this will never get old because like I'll feel like it'll get old when I'm not listening to it, but when I do listen to it, I know it won't get old. because when I listen to the song Astral Weeks all the way through in one go, I'm just like, yeah, I still love that song the same way I always did, and it still has that same effect on me.
No, I
And
feel it's like my Spotify playlist. It's like that. I have Beach Boys or Prayer on there. That's the first song, and like
yeah,
I always turn shuffle off when I'm listening to stuff. So whenever I go back on there, I have to listen to that and then queue up shuffle. So yeah, it's like the
hmm
same thing for me.
yeah, it's like on. Usually, when I turn on PlayStation Spotify, I just want to play like an album or something because I'll be
Yeah.
playing a multiplayer game, and it'd be nice to have some background noise. And plus, it also like helped me listen to albums that I want to listen to, like the Black Parade.
Oh
And
yeah.
I was, which was actually really hype because I was just massacring everybody. And I,
Dad.
yeah, I would turn on like Astral Years, because once I'm done with the album, I'd also like to listen to something just after that, and so that's why I just put it on Astral Years, and then I'll cue something,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then it'll just play through the whole thing, and then it'll just go back to Astral Years. Yeah,
yeah. I feel that.
yeah, man. I think that's like a almost an hour.
Yeah. Astral Weeks.
Yeah,
Good
man.
album.
That's all right. That's cool.
All right.
Great.
Well, I
Next
guess
week's Pet Sounds, right?
yeah. Pet Sounds is next because we did his favorite album, and
Yep.
now
I gotta
my
listen
favorite
to that again
album.
before we do it, though.
Yeah,
I
I
gotta,
listened to Astral Weeks today.
yeah,
And
yeah. I gotta go back through
you
Pet
gotta do
Sounds
prep
again.
time. Nah,
Yeah.
man, it's worth it. Just listen to it
Oh no,
every
I
day.
like Pet Sounds. Don't get me wrong. I think it's good. But it's
Well,
like I,
Brian Wilson said that you gotta listen to it like in your room with the lights off and close your eyes, and it's a ethereal experience. So I think that's
that's what I did with Astral Weeks.
yeah. All right.
Yeah. All right. That was awesome.